Okay, and we are rolling.
Okay. I'm going to win this argument, Cody.
I think you lost it like 3
I'm
times.
going to win it.
You already lost
All right.
it multiple times.
All right, welcome back to Problem Solver Politics. I'm your host, Cardon with Cody the Oracle.
Hey, everyone.
Okay, and today we're going to fact check.
Yeah, we're going to fact check them, guys.
Yeah.
We're going to fact check them.
Yeah, Cody doesn't like the term. I say fact checking, but we're actually going to do deep mathematical analysis of Andrew Yang's policy proposal of giving every cop a camera. Now, I'm a little bit dubious and cynical on the math here. That's why I use the term fact checking. But Cody is a little bit more optimistic.
I wouldn't even say optimistic. I would say realistic at this point.
Okay, but we're going to go dive deep into the nitty-gritty of what it would cost to give every cop a camera and if the claims Andrew Yang makes on his policy proposals are actually true. So, first off, as always, we give credit where credit is due in this show. And we love that Andrew Yang has published more than now 90 policy proposals so we can all sit here arguing and analyzing them, bettering our society in the process. So why don't you start out, Cody, with a truncated explanation of what Andrew Yang proposes we do in order to give every cop a camera.
All right. Well, again, I always like to just go straight down to the bottom of his page where he just says, as president, I will. He says, as president, I will authorize federal funding to pay for a body camera for every officer in every police department in the country. And then really that's kind of the end of directly referencing body cameras. He goes on to say, have the DOJ compile composite measurements, including from private sources, which I guess would be citizens or maybe, I don't know, advocacy groups, of police-related incidents and deaths to establish baseline rates. Okay, that could be, that would have to be kind of more local. Anyway, then he goes, federal funding, local police officers and the latest techniques. Okay, that's pretty good. Reestablish community-based policing and reward departments for a combination of low complaints, continued efficacy, just kind of general policing. He goes on to say reestablish bans on certain military-level equipment and invest in non-lethal weaponry that can be used to de-escalate conflicts at range, and handprint signature guns so that weapons can only be used by their officers, which is a pretty good idea. I like that idea. Why not?
Well, it was a long list of traditional liberal complaints against police departments, including MRAPs and large, what used to be military personnel carriers, repainted black with LAPD on the side or NYPD on the side. But let's dive specifically into the every cop gets a camera claim. Now, further on his policy proposal, actually at the very top, he says the benefits of body cameras on police officers are clear. And he cites a Rialto, California study that showed use of force incidents, meaning basically violent incidences, between police officers and citizens, decreased some 60% to 88% because, well, it's true, if citizens know they're on a body cam, they're going to behave better. And if cops know they're on a body cam, they're going to behave better.
Again, did it reduce crime or did it just reduce incidents where police officers did anything because they weren't cameras all the time?
That's true.
Like, what is it?
And I would really like to understand the psychology that is initiated on police officers better when they know they're being, at least every incident is being filmed. But I've had lots of friends that are law enforcement officers, and they actually said they've appreciated the body cams because finally they have proof that all these crappy claims that people make about them are not true. I've had friends specifically that have gotten out of civil rights allegations, sexual assault allegations, larceny allegations, so on and so forth, because they had body cams showing the interaction. So all of us can agree that generally body cams are good. But once again, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And if coming? We're, math people, like all of the math hats say at the Yang Gang rallies, to make America think harder, then we got to use math. Here, Andrew Yang cites several statistics. He says there are 18,000 different local law enforcement agencies. True. All right, from the smallest towns to NYPD. And he gives a high estimate here. It's estimated there's between 750,000, 750,000, and 1.2 million police officers in the United States of America. Right now, Andrew Yang is claiming there's about 1.1 million. It's impossible to tell the exact number because there's no centralized bureau. However, that's within the bell curve of what's a decent estimate by every major organized body that tracks law enforcement numbers. So, He says each one at approximately $350 a piece, okay, which is a fair estimate. We did our own investigation into body cams, and generally they cost on the low end around $100, on the high end $1,000, but here we're going to say $350 a piece, all right? And then he cites an interesting statistic. NYPD, the New York Police Department, spent $136 million on legal settlement claims in 2010 just for police misconduct, okay? And he says, quote, if cameras reduce this amount by any percentage, they'd easily pay for themselves. Now, we're going to analyze this claim. Once again, if cameras reduce this amount by any percentage, they'd easily pay for themselves. Well, how much, Cody, do you think, what percentage is a fair percentage, do you think of these claims would get reduced? 10%, 50%, 25%? What's a fair amount for us to throw into this analysis?
Honestly, I would say around 40 to 50. If the small town, Rialto is not a very big town, if they had a 60 to 88% reduction, I would say 35 to 40 is pretty reasonable, right?
Why don't we just, for easy math, say 40?
Sure.
Give you the high? Okay, 40.
That's reasonable.
Okay, now, we're going to go to govtech.com, all right? And here we analyze 3 different police departments. They analyzed New Orleans. They talk a little bit about the Rialto Police Department, and then also Kern County, California's law enforcement agencies, right? And at the time of the printing of this article, they claimed the infrastructure investment was about $1,000 a month, but the storage of the data, the 13 hours of information that you need to download and store every time a cop comes back from his shift, is becoming an innumerable expense. In fact, the headline says money, storage, primary obstacles in police body camera implementation. The initial cost of the cameras are only the tip of the iceberg. Government technology claims for municipalities, often the steepest costs come from storage fees.
Which is really quickly, I want to mention that Andrew Yang also cites in the numbers he puts in there that he does not include those in those numbers. So he's
yeah, but that's like a used car salesman saying, "Oh yeah, the price of this car is only $5,000. Never mind that the registration's $1,200. The tires are going to be $500."
He said yes. He said it will cost more with these numbers. I'm not factoring them in.
I think he's majorly lowballing this in a way that is borderline, I mean, at best, naive to how poorly government can implement the procurement of the body cams, the installation thereof, and proof of is Obamacare.
Okay, but how many of these local municipalities and departments actually need to fully equip everyone with body cameras? That meaning they have.
Well, the claim is every cop a camera.
No. But what I'm saying is, how many are wearing cameras today?
According to GovTech, 1/3 of the police departments
so hundreds
nationwide.
Of thousands?
Yeah, he said 1/3 of all the police departments nationwide are either in the process of procuring body cams, have already had a test program, or are implementing body cams. And the rest of them basically know it's going to be happening sometime within the next decade.
Okay, so then right there we cut 200,000, 300,000, 400,000 off that number.
Okay, but look, if this is going to become a law, just like Ronald Reagan said, the closest thing to eternal life that we have in the United States of America is a government bureau. So there will basically have to be, if he's claiming to use federal dollars, there's going to be a bureau of cop body cams with approved vendors and approved this and approved that that's going to be regulating and training in the use of body cams. So let's go over the math here. If $136 million is spent by New York City in just misconduct claims, all right? And we reduce that, okay, by 40%. That means we're going to save like $54 million.
Wait, hold on a second. I believe when we did the math is about how much it would cost the NYPD to pay for body cameras on an annual basis.
Okay, hold on.
I believe that was actually almost exactly the same number.
Okay, well, let's see. Let's see here. So $54 million. There's 36,000, according to Wikipedia. There's 36,000.
Oh, wait, by the way, for context, how much money does the NYPD currently spend on an annual basis in their police department? Just for context, just so we have an idea of how much. Oh, it's $5.6 billion.
Dude, I lived in New York.
It's $5.6 billion. So
$5.6 billion.
So we're talking points.
Oh, I would have guessed like 1 to 3 billion. But you say it's 5.6 billion.
5.6 billion. Council.nyc.gov quotes it as 5.6 billion. So again,
okay.
Like we're talking about, it's going to cost hundreds of millions. Okay, that's the 0.6 part of the 5.6. If you want to talk about hundreds of millions.
I'm going to go by the GovTech numbers here. And let's assume that we get our boys in blue, the best out there, and it's $1,000 each.
Which is crazy high, by the way.
Okay. Andrew, well, actually, no, let's split the difference. Andrew Yang claims $350. Government Technology claims $1,000. So let's just go in the middle. Let's go in the middle of $700 each.
Which is still crazy. That is more than I would pay for one for me.
Okay. Fine.
It is.
Let 400 for easy math. Can we do 400?
Sure, it's still more than I would pay for my own.
Now, according to GovTech, governmenttechnology.com, the minimum price for all of that data storage is about $100 a month per camera. So you have to add $1,200 to each one of these $400 cameras, assuming no batteries break, none of them are defective, all of the installations go flawlessly, yielding about a $1,600 a year expense for each one of these body cams. Now, when we times that by the 36,000 police officers that you get in NYPD, for example, you are correct. It ends up being 57 million.
Oh, wow. So it sounds like 40% was the percentage he was referencing in that article.
Now that's assuming it goes 40%, all right?
Which, like we said, the recent study we were taking.
And if it takes out 50, then you're right. Money saved. However, listen to all of these other expenses, all right, that all of a sudden happen when you introduce video footage into the legal system, okay? This is just the cost of the cameras. What tax is paying for the bureaucracy? What tax is paying for all the people that are now going to be the legal analysts of all of this footage? What tax is going to be paying for all the broken parts? If 10% of manufactured goods are somehow defective and 5% is considered really good manufacturing and like 1% defective is considered German engineering, we already need to start adding millions and millions and millions of dollars to the expense of this. And just as GovTech just says that the initial cost of the cameras are only the tip of the iceberg for municipalities, often the steepest costs come from, and then they list a litany of other things. I feel like I'm getting Trojan horsed.
Okay, well, I have a couple of points to bring up here. How much does the average police officer make in this country? If we're going to add about $1,000 a month, essentially you're adding $1,000 a year. It doesn't go to the salary of the police officer, but you want to say like, if they get whatever, they get a year.
Dude, I knew guys in New York that were making over $200,000 because they worked overtime and they were single. Base pay is going to be.
And you're telling me $1,400 an officer.
No, but I'm saying like like Santa Clarita sheriffs,
and by the way,
LA sheriffs, Rialto sheriffs.
It's $64,000.
I was going to guess between 50 and 75.
So we're talking what, like 7-8% of that a year would increase, and that's going to like cripple the U.S. economy. How about this? How much do we spend a year in our police department as a nation? How much do you think we spend?
That's a good question. Cody the Oracle is about to divulge this info.
According to Forbes.com, about $100 billion. So let's say it's going to cost us $4 billion, and it's absolutely just rip the Band-Aid, awful experience to put police cameras on everyone. We're talking 4% of the budget would go towards it. And like most of that's an upfront cost. And then we're talking about it basically adding per cost. And by the way, how much, when you give an officer $56,000 a year in a salary, how much does it actually cost the U.S. government? Do you really think adding $1,400 a year to that's going to do anything? Like, I don't think you realize the money being spent already. It's a big number. It's crazy. But when you can write off $4 billion as 4%, dude, like, yeah, I don't think it's that big a number.
Okay, so first off, you're making me look bad on camera. Second off.
I tried telling you. I tried warning you, man.
Okay, but second off, I have a huge problem with this being federal. Okay? This means he has this is my beef. He's claiming it's going to be federal dollars paying for this and that it would reduce the costs of all of the different lawsuits. Well, if you've created a tax and had to raise 0.1% or 0.5%, the federal income tax on people to all of a sudden pay for every cop a camera. Sure, the New York Police Department is saving a lot of money. They get some counterterrorism dollars from the federal government and so on and so forth. But generally, they're getting paid for by state and local taxes, not federal taxes, because it's the New York City Police Department, not the New York State or the U.S. Police Department.
Exactly, and the city spending $5 billion. I think we can find the money.
But they're taking the money from, so they're going to have to raise federal taxes while saving state government's money that's not going to end up going back to the people. So this is basically a giant tax raise.
I mean, not necessarily. They could just reduce spending elsewhere and divert some of that spending towards
well, I would like to see that. Andrew Yang didn't put that in here. Okay. Like, what I liked about UBI and the universal basic income is he said, hey, we're going to give $1,000 a month to everybody. Made a big fat, what could be perceived as socialist claim, but then says, but guess what? A VAT tax strategically implemented is going to pay for it. And the numbers add up. When you come out and you say, oh, we're going to give every cop a camera. Okay, that's great. And the initial cost seems to be covered by the claim that it will reduce lawsuits for misconduct, which I believe. But what about the iceberg behind it? The tip of the iceberg is covered.
The 2% of our spending iceberg. This absolutely devastating, roughly.
Who's going to pay for it? How will this get paid for?
Who's going to pay for it? I don't know. Who pays for the $100 billion a year we spend currently, man? I don't know. I think when you're talking very small numbers around that, it's just. I think it's a little bit goofy.
Okay.
I think it's a little bit not worth it because, like I said, where's the NYPD getting their $6 billion a year to spend? I don't know, man. They're getting it from somewhere. He doesn't mention raising taxes in here. It sounds like just really increasing some investment.
Yeah, but Barack Obama came out and said, if you liked your doctor, you can keep your doctor. And we all lost our doctor.
Okay,
he also said that Obamacare, hold on, I know these stats really well because I lost my doctor and my monthly premiums went from being $127 a month to being $800 a month. I'll tell you what it has to do with Obamacare. It's a massive federal takeover of what used to be a state and local service.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is.
He just authorizes federal funding for a certain piece of equipment.
Okay, no. Okay. He says a lot more than that. Read this right here.
There is more.
As president,
the
authorized
DOJ
federal
compile measurements, including private. Okay, there's
everybody knows whoever somebody paying for you owns you. If the federal government is paying for it, they own the system, they own the implementation, and all of a sudden they own the protocols and the rules of engagement.
I think that is stretching what we're seeing.
It is a federal takeover
I think
of law
that's
enforcement.
stretching. I think taking this to federal takeover. First, his numbers were off. Now it's a full federal takeover, man. Like this in the last.
It's a revolution.
In the last 15 minutes, this jumped from he was being deceptive of the pricing to he's trying to invade local police departments. I don't think either of those things are true.
Okay, I'm not saying like straight up Orwellian.
Wait, hold up. Was I mistaken when you said quote full government takeover? Was I mistaken when?
Okay. I'm saying of the process and undue influence. And at the end of the day, I just want to know who's going to pay for it. And I liked UBI because he says, here's the good idea, which I believed is a good idea. Here's how we're going to pay for it. Now I see, here's the good idea. And I believe every cop a camera is a good idea. But I am not seeing a sufficient claim about how this is going to get paid for. I see how the tip of the iceberg is going to get paid for, but not the iceberg. And just like Obamacare screwed me, okay, I went from paying $127 a month to paying $754, and even though Barack Obama said it will save the average family of four, which I have, a family of four, $2,500 per year was his claim. He claimed $2,500 would be saved in premiums due to the purchase of high-volume health care.
Okay, but dude, Obama isn't president, and he won't be ever again.
Yeah, but he was a Democrat. It's the same party. It's the same mentality. It's the same
that is a crazy
bait and switch we've been getting from these guys.
That's a crazy smear to use against Andrew Yang, a guy who has basically had nothing to do with politics until like a year ago.
This is why people like you more, Cody. This is why the Yang gang likes Cody the Oracle.
I'm just saying, smearing Andrew Yang because he's a Democrat when he's been a Democrat for like 14 months, I think is a little bit.
And I did
unfair.
say before that I think he's a closet Republican that just doesn't want to run.
So he's a closet Republican who's barely been a Democrat.
Okay.
But those sneaky Democrats, I think.
So let me roll it back.
I think he is proposing some increased federal spending on police, but he's proposing like I said, when we did the numbers, even on the high end, he's proposing
Let me say what I would like to...
minuscule change in budget. Minuscule.
Okay, let me see what I would like to see instead of this. I would be okay with saying I will support legislation that makes mandatory body cams on police officers and law enforcement agencies that interact with the public and arrest citizens. But I will let the states, because I'm a states' rights guy, I will let the states choose how they will finance these systems.
Okay, what if they choose
the
they
systems
won't?
will be?
What if they say we're not going to fund it? We don't have the money. It's not in the budget.
Well, guess what? States' right. Gavin Newsom just did that, pulling back the National Guard, saying I'm not going to fund Donald Trump's immigration policies.
Okay, but
states all the time go to war with the federal government. That's why it's called federalism.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. At the end of the day, you know what they're probably going to do? They'd probably subsidize the payments for the police departments, which is basically what he's proposing.
Which is a government takeover.
Okay, but that's
anything that's subsidized ends up getting controlled by the government.
All I'm saying is if the government says you have to have body cameras and local municipalities say we can't afford them, the government will probably say we'll buy them for you then. And then what happens?
I'm getting tired of winning this conversation, Cody.
Okay, that's clearly what happened in the last 20 minutes.
Anyway, let us know what you guys think. Comment below. Please like and share this video. This is a very important conversation to be having. All of us love and respect our good law enforcement agents out there, but we hate and really loathe the bad law enforcement agents out there. We love our good citizens, but we also can't stand our bad citizens, and cameras can help us catch the good and bad agents of law enforcement as well as the good and bad citizens in our society. So I believe the ideal of every cop a camera or getting a camera is a good idea, but I feel like at best Andrew Yang's approach to this is a little bit naive as to how poor government rollouts of federal programs can be, how underestimating costs is a commonality in Washington. But hey, I'm just one opinion. Cody's got another one. We want to hear what you guys think. Please like, share, and subscribe this video. Smash that like button and the subscribe bell. And let us know what you think in the comments below and what other videos and platforms you want us to talk about. This is Problem Solver Politics.
Cool, it's a cut.